We're going to tie this EP fiber fly. Let's get started. Start off with the hook that was set. Get that tightened into the vise nice and good. You're going to want to start your thread on that hook. I'm going to start about halfway back this time. It's just kind of wrap down like that. Get your scissors, cut off that tag end. We're going to start with the white fibers here. We're going to take just a section of this. I'm going to actually pull this apart a little bit, get a little less. I'm not going to try to get too much, so maybe about half as much as I started with. You can see on the original, it's kind of light. There's not a ton of white in there, so we're going to just we can always add more if we need to. So about a little bit past half towards the back, we're just going to lock that in there. Tie that down on the top of the hook. Cut off that excess right there. Just tie that down a little bit. Just keep it out of the way. Now we're going to do the same thing with the green. Take the green on top. Might go a little longer on there. A little bit more of the green material than the white. You're going to wrap that on, just on the top. Let those kind of blend together there. Okay, I'm going to cut off the excess of that. This stuff likes to get all stuck to itself. But still can make a nice fly out of it. I'm going to wrap that down. Now we're going to take some of this angel hair. This stuff is great looking, isn't it? Okay. We're going to take some of that. Just peel a clump off like that. Okay. And it's a little, it likes to do its own thing. But we're going to try to control it. I'm going to kind of take it in a loop like this, kind of just a horseshoe. Lay it on the top. And right where that kind of comes together, I'm going to use that as my tie down point. It's not going to look terribly great under here. But that allows it to kind of flow loosely back. Now we need to add in some lateral line. Take this, it's a little thicker as far as the flash. It's more of a straight flash. And some of this is a little crooked. We'll just take a piece out here. And I'm going to try to, this is for these lateral lines you see on here. This side's a little bit better too. This is a little crinkly on me, so we're just going to try to find two spots here. I'm going to tie it in two different times. So I'm going to fold it over. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fold it over straight in half and then in quarters. And again, we're kind of creating that center loop. So I got the two ends on both sides. So we'll take and we'll tie this on that side. Just a wrap or two. And now I can control this other side closest to me. And these are just a little bit brighter, a little bit more straight than the ones that we just tied in that were kind of loose feathers. Now what we want to do is build the head. The head of this is a little interesting. I'm going to take the green again, and I'm going to take this section here. I'm going to double it up, fold it over on itself, try to compress it down to get a nice little tight spot there in the middle where I'm going to tie it to the hook. So now a little closer to the eye of the hook now. Let me just bring my thread up here because it's going to cover up those other wraps here in a second. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this down. I'm going to try to tie it down pretty tight because it's mostly on top. Now I'm going to kind of push it down so it kind of goes underneath the hook a little bit too. So it's on both sides of the hook here. Now I'm going to bring the thread back up, grab my whip finisher. Now here's a little trick too. If this stuff doesn't stay out of your way enough while you're whip finishing, just take a little bread tie from your sandwich bread and just kind of hold that back. Now you can get in there with your whip finisher. If you haven't seen how to use these, you can go online and see a nice video on YouTube how to do that. I'm just going to whip finish this end here. Tighten that down. Cut off the tail end of my line. I like to add a little super glue to the end to that whip finish just to make sure it does what it's supposed to. It's just a little super glue there. I can take that bread tie off. And there's the head now, and we're just going to kind of massage this around a little bit, kind of push it back. And now it looks kind of like that. So now we got to clean it up a little. We're just going to cut the shape into this, kind of come up at maybe like a 45-degree angle from the eye of that hook, coming up like this, and kind of want to taper it into the back trailing section of that. So we'll do the head here first. underneath too. We're just going to kind of taper that coming down and just kind of play with those fibers and kind of pinching them down to the bottom, get a little bit more on the bottom again. Just roll it around and taper that back. I like to come in on the sides too, so it's not too wide. So I'm going to trim the sides. You got to be careful there. You don't want to get too close to those lateral lines that you tied in. And now we got this section. Sometimes I like to come in with the comb too, right? And these are a little hard to comb sometimes because they are really fine fibers. And I can get those in there. And now we're just going to kind of taper to the tail to give it that rounded tail look. Like that. Come in with the comb some more on this head here. Try and get that to kind of lay in and tie a little nicer. Lay it a little nicer with the back part of it. Trim it out. Okay. Final step in this process. Take the eyes. Now these eyes are tiny and they're slightly sticky, but I like to apply a little bit more super glue to them. A little dot of super glue on the back there. Squeeze them together, make sure your fingers aren't stuck to the fly. One last look. Taper here again. Coming up with the comb on the bottom there just to kind of fan that out a little. And there you have it.